intro to Allan Corfield. So there'll be no intro in the actual video. Well, there'll be an intro in the video, which will be this bit, and then it will just go straight into the interview.
And there is like a, hey Allan, blah, blah, blah. Like there's like natural kind of...
Aye. Right. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hope you're well. As part of our ongoing enthusiasm and goal to bring you value-led content this year, we have got a fantastic interview with Allan Corfield coming up. So we were lucky to have Allan in the office earlier in the week, and we were able to sit down with him for a good couple of hours, Steph.
Yeah. Super interesting guy. For anybody who doesn't know Allan, can't believe that there'll be anybody out there watching this that doesn't know who Allan is. But
he's more of an influencer than we are.
100%. So Allan Corfield has an architecture practice called Allan Corfield Architects. He also has a structural engineering practice called Allan Corfield Structures. He is also one of the faces of the home building and renovating show and the magazine. So he writes for the magazine, he goes to every show, he does Ask the Expert. His firms both have big presences at all the shows.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, in the world of architecture.
And he was gracious enough to give us a couple of hours of his time. He's a super interesting guy. He's just a young guy like us.
Young guy like us.
Just kind of like in his early 40s. Although he has been around for a long time and he's really experienced, knows a lot about the industry and self-build. He is the self-build expert. And it was just a super interesting chat. He's a good guy, he's a funny guy, very knowledgeable, and it was just great to kind of sit down with him and pick his brain.
It's good to sit down with someone like Allan who is coming from like a wealth of experience, has pretty much kind of cut his teeth in architecture entirely in the self-build market. That is the number one client base that they work with.
That is his niche.
So he's worked all over the UK and we've done lots of projects with Allan over the years, some kind of general extension stuff right through to, dare we say it, grand design type projects.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what he specialises in.
Exactly.
So, yep.
So he brings a lot to the table. It's a super interesting conversation. No doubt if you watch this and you've got any questions that you want to put forward to Allan, or if you want to get in touch, we'll put all his information and links down below. And yeah, hopefully you find the interview interesting.
We'll see you soon.
Cheers. Okay. So, Allan, thank you for joining us here at the Cowshed. We've had an eventful morning this morning, obviously. Allan has come in today to assist in setting up our VR system. I have to say it's been an enjoyable 5 hours this morning watching software update and load and things like that. But I mean, we're very close to being sorted.
And anybody who wants to get a wee bit of an inside track on that, you can obviously go straight to YouTube and watch the vlog.
And come to the Cowshed in 6 months' time, and it might be working.
We're optimistic. We're close. It's running. It's better than it was first thing this morning, but we're going to have to come up with a couple of fixes, I think, to get that over the line. But yeah, thank you very much for coming in. And obviously, we kind of touched on what we're trying to achieve here with the Ask the Expert series, which is focused around providing a wee bit more value to people who might be looking at the self-build process, entering into doing a major renovation, an extension, that type of thing. Obviously, they come to us for the glazing package, but we try and reinforce, I feel like, that to have a good design team behind you is definitely the start. We're part of that, and we take up a significant amount of the budget when it comes to extensions and conversions and new build houses. But what we're trying to do is create a good information database where people can kind of touch base and learn a wee bit more about the entire process, not just the glazing, but how that ties into everything else that happens. So you're a great place to start, Allan.
Thank you.
The self-build expert. And probably as a starter, give us a kind of rundown of you, how you got into the industry and what AC Architects and AC Structures, of course, brings to the table with regards to what you guys do in the package.
Yeah, well, I started architecture in 2004, 2005 as a chartered architect, worked for a big practice, was made redundant as loads were, unfortunately, in the credit crunch, set up by myself, had a couple of years of doing garage conversions and extensions that family members didn't quite need, but just to help out. And then 2011 got a couple of nice projects under my belt and started growing the business. And we've grown from there to fast forward to now with sort of a team of 20. It's split between Dunfermline and the National Self-Build Renovation Centre in Swindon. We've done over 560 residential projects, and a couple of years ago decided it would be a great idea to set up a structural engineering business. Yep.
How's that working out?
How's that working out for you? Architect decides to come in and disrupt an industry. It's getting there. We're doing well. We're doing well. So all that's going well. It all works hand in hand to try and create something that isn't just about architecture. It's about helping self-builders, and that's, I think, similar to you guys. We've been heavy on the content and trying to educate people that might become our customers, that might not become our customers, but it's given a better awareness and real life examples of what self-build can be in architecture in general.
No, I think that's one of the reasons that you stand out to us, really, is that it's very clear from either looking at the website or having a chat with you or just going to like Home Building Renovating Show, that how you promote your business seems to be coming from a place of, trying to help people first and demonstrate your expertise and knowledge in the hope that kind of comes back in the form of work. And obviously that's like been working for you and things like that. But so it's interesting to obviously be kind of having a chat about it. With regards to that, and I suppose kind of some of the initial questions that we've got would be just, if somebody's watching this and they're considering a self-build, so they're at the start of their journey, based on everything that you've done and know, and obviously your website is there as a reference point, and people will put kind of links and everything like that so that people can go and have a look at it. But what would you advise as the kind of very first steps that someone should be taking in terms of their self-build journey?
I think it's becoming as well educated as you can, first and foremost, about the process, about the shortfalls, the challenges, being realistic that most of the people that come into this are novice self-builders. They've never done something of this scale, this magnitude. That they need to be well educated, so they need to become the best self-builder they can be. But before they start speaking to architects and designers and everybody else, is finance. Projects fall down halfway through a build or at the start of a build or even before they start on site because they didn't have the finance sorted in the first place. It always has to start with finance first. Before you start speaking to architects and thinking about glazing and sites and everything else. You have to understand and be realistic about, can you afford this? And where budget is massive, but cash flow. Like you guys are creating a bespoke project for somebody. If you've not got the money in advance, then you can't, it will either fall down on total budget or problems with cash flow. And these need to be understood before you purchase that site, before you engage with architects, everything else, to understand how to use your money properly.
I mean, from our perspective, the amount of projects that we probably price, I would say, in a year, there's probably 30% that actually never, ever even hit ground because they've went so far into a process, planning permission, building warrant. They've, in some cases, a lot of time bought the plot, and it's only when they go out to tender that they go, hang on a minute here, like we've got £400,000 to build, and this is going to cost us very near £700,000. Are there any, from an advisory point of view, do you feel that falls upon the architect, or, getting a QS involved early, or because to everybody, I suppose at this point, and we're kind of big on it, we say, look, if you spend the money now on doing your research in the background before a project hits the site, it'll save you a hell of a lot of money in the long term, or before it gets to the stage where it hits ground. Do you think it's a kind of joint approach to guide clients through that process at the initial design stages?
Yeah, and I think but it starts before that. There's a lot of people that will take on a job for taking on a job. They'll not give the client the right advice.
Yeah.
We lose out on loads of projects because we say, you don't have the right budget, or you can't afford to do this. And we'd rather advise the client properly before they become a client, and then walk away from us. The problem is that there'll always be somebody out there who will say,
totally.
yeah, you can build that for that. Then they take their money, and before you know it, before they've got to a point where they've got drawings that could be properly costed, they might have still spent 5, 10, 15,000 pounds. They might have spent 100,000 pounds on the plot.
Yeah.
You need to understand it. First and foremost, can I build something? What do I want to build? So that architects don't cost buildings, right? Let's get that out there straight away. We're not quantity surveyors, we're not trained as quantity surveyors, but we should be able to design to a budget.
Yeah.
So we will talk to a client very early on and find out the big drivers for cost. Is the plot flat and level? What's your budget? Is it accessible? Design constraints. Do you want a massive house? Do you want something simple and efficient? The more complex it is, the harder it becomes to build, the more costly it becomes to build. Therefore, fees go up, build costs go up. So all these things can be thought about early on, which will then drive a design around a broad cost per square metre.
Yeah.
And if it comes in with all those things, then great, you can start the project. And then, the other fundamental mistake people make is they wait till they've got initial design, planning, building regs, production drawings, then they find out they can't afford it.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's a tricky position to be in, because you've spent all this money getting a design that you love that is now...
And you're hanging pictures on the wall at that point in your head. You're in VR.
Yeah.
When
I was going to say,
but it works.
But at each one of those stages, you can get a cost check done, and that's where you get your QS or your local builder if it's a renovation on.
Yeah.
Yes, it might be accurate to 10 or 15%, but that's enough early on.
Yeah.
But you've still got that cost check done to understand, and you maybe spend 500-600 quid with a quantity surveyor early on at set of design drawings, and be able to get a rough cost, and then say, right, can I go ahead with this? Yes, no, I can't. I'm going to need to either increase my budget, make it more efficient, make it smaller, or put more effort in myself. Yeah, do more myself. That's there's only so many drivers to a project from cost, but we need to understand these early on, and then be able to change them, rather than when you guys see stuff. Yeah. And it's like, well, it needs to be that price. Well, that's not. Yeah.
And it's also getting to the stage where people are like so heart-strung. And this is like another massive mistake we see. And we've made like loads of kind of skitty videos and stuff about it as well. But, if you are designing your dream house and you're going through the self-build process, like, I'm a kind of firm believer you should kind of enjoy the process, I think. Because there's nothing. I mean, we're dealing with clients just now. We spoke about it last week, who before the house is even finished, they're considering selling it because they have just hated the process so much because it's been painful. They have at multiple stages run out of money, and they're now thinking, like, when we were remortgaging this, we were going to get £1 million back. The house is worth 800. They're now borrowing 200,000 to finish it. It just seems it's one of these things that I think manage the expectations is a huge thing, and not necessarily live within your means, but the bigger the house you design, the more it's going to cost to build. And sometimes if there's only 2 years in a house, why do you need 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms?
And most of these things are done at the end of people's working career or their life. And we've got lots of lovely clients that are fully aware, they're ready, they're set up to do this. But there's a lot out there that just aren't, and they shouldn't be doing it. And I think it's important to get that out there. Self-build's not for everybody. It really is not. It's not going to fix a broken relationship. It's not going to make your life easier. It's not going to make your health better.
You could pretty much put a kibosh in a relationship if it goes the other way.
It's stressful, but that sweat equity people put in, 5, 10, 15, 20% of sweat equity, depending on how they've done it, in terms of managing trades or doing work themselves, is valuable. But you've got to you've got to be set up to do that.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, I think we see it a lot of the time, is when people start to run out of the, on the finance thing, is the spec starts to get cut massively, to the point where they've now got this huge house that, they went in with the intention at the start of, I want an energy efficient home. I'm now on a fixed income retirement type thing. Exactly what you spoke about. They build a house to a certain size, and it's not got the insulation that it requires. It's not fabric first. They've cut back on, insulated plasterboard to simple things like that. But the build inevitably is compromised at the end of it, as is the value of the house that they've built. So,
and if you've done that in a 9-month period that's been horrible, or 18-month period that's been horrible, and then the product has been so diluted,
because it's no longer what you were hoping it was going to be, and you've hated everything getting up to that. I mean, 9 months is a long time if you're not having fun. That will feel like a kind of a long drawn out process. And I suppose we see that quite a lot because unfortunately the scenario that you described, whereby they don't actually start to get things costed until they've got a set of finished plans, well, they might not have spoken to us before that. So they're already starting to cut corners, or they get a quote from us because they think, right, we're still going to go as far down this road as we can, and they get a quote from somebody like us who's providing a good quality product, and instantly, as Mark said, maybe the project doesn't go to site or doesn't go ahead. Sometimes it's hard for us to even know that, because we just never hear from them again. We put forward a cost that we think actually that's really good. That's really good for what they're getting and for what, based on the spec they've asked from, and you just never hear from them. And you think,
ghosting's a real thing.
100%.
It's a real thing. Does it happen to architects as well, by the way?
It does, by the way. It's not just on Tinder. It's a real life thing. So I've heard. Happily married, obviously. But no, it is. It's the same thing. It's people just, you spend time nurturing a relationship to get to that point and never hear back. It's
I mean, it's reassuring to, I suppose, not great business for you, but it's reassuring to hear that you kind of lose clients because you're more realistic and say, actually, like, you don't have enough money for this. Although the reality of that situation as well, which like we all know here, is that, and no offense to anybody who's in this position, but that's a kind of nightmare client to have, because they are constantly trying to cut corners and reduce costs and push you as much as possible to trim stuff out, and there's only so much you can trim before it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah, and it has to. We get that when we come up across with cheaper. Maybe it's a one-man band. Maybe it's an architectural designer who doesn't have PI insurance, doesn't have an office. Our costs are always going to be bigger, but they've not got the experience of 550 projects. They've not seen them through like we have. So there's value to that. And then you come up against it, and as you said, there's only so much you can cut out of it. We need to be making profit. It's a dirty word sometimes with people, but you need to make sure, because if it's not there and it's cut too much, all that will happen is the client will be disappointed in the service. And it's difficult to then go back and say, well, this is what we offered, this is what we suggested you needed. You've cut. You're obviously not going to get that.
And it's a hard thing as well. And we found ourselves in scenarios where clients have, it's the age-old story for us, and you'll have although it's a different type of structure and it's a different contractual thing, in terms of RIBA, codes of conduct and all the rest of it falls along with it. But you give a price to someone to take a project to a certain stage. One of the big problems that we have is we do a lot of supply only work, and at the time we're saying to clients, look, if we speak to a client and they are working with a kind of fairly large, reputable contractor that we've done work before, we will openly say to that client or that contractor, is more than capable of installing that product. We're very, very confident. We'll give you as much on-site support as you want to visit site and everything else, but they're in charge of the installation. And it's very much a kind of break point. You'll then get clients like coming back to the finance thing where they want the best window package that they can get, and maybe they've kind of said, right, okay, it's going to cost 60,000. We'll commit to doing that, but it costs 12 or 13,000 pounds to install the product, and they go, well, we can't afford that. So then what happens is they've got a great product, and they start to fit it, and before you know it, they can't afford the installation. There's ways of cutting this out, but I mean, if you were advising clients nowadays in terms of, I think people think self-build very much is, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Mr. and Mr. Smith or whatever it was going to be. They are the project manager. They are running the job. You can do a self-build by having a project manager. What would you advise, you know, when you're speaking to these clients from an advisory point of view, what do you kind of think is the best way forward? Sorry for interrupting your video. We know this is a really interesting interview. Loads of people who watch this don't actually like and subscribe, and it really helps us out.
Sad, but it's true. But if you're enjoying what you're seeing right now, why don't you click the notification bell, and that way you will be up to date with every release that we put out. Thank you very much, and we hope you continue to enjoy it.
Back to the video.
Again, it goes back to budget. Budget and their availability, how much they're willing to put in. Because if you've got all the money in the world and you want to de-risk it, the best main contractor or turnkey contractor you can get, give them your drawings, a wad of cash, 24 weeks later you might get a set of keys and you've moved into a nice house. If you're a step back from that, then project manager might be the right thing. So you're getting somebody to come in who's going to manage the individual trades. You, at a core level, self-build in the UK means that you've had primary input in the design process. Right? So fundamentally, that's it. Everything above that is a step in added value that you're putting in. So you could have the project manager role in the middle where they're taking the liability. Their role is to appoint individual contractors, get the best cost and the best performance out of them. But you're a step back from that. A lot of our clients who again have never done this before, it's one of the biggest expenses in their lives. They maybe have managed a business, owned a business, been at director level at KPMG, or what they've done well in their career, they've worked really hard, or they might have managed a household, right? Because quite often it's stereotypical here, it's the mum that's at home, the kids have grown up, and they want to do this self-build project, and she becomes the project manager. We always just say to our clients, well, are you fully available? Can you answer the phone during the day? Can you answer the phone at the evening? Can you be available evenings, weekends to plan, manage, monitor what's happening next? Do a bit of project management, Gantt chart, moving things about. Who do I need to come in at this point? How do they need the site left? All this sort of stuff. If you can do that and you're available and you don't have kids clubs to go to every night and holidays to go on at the weekends, you can manage a self-build. And that'll be your best value for money. But you've got to accept you've probably never done it before. So the risk is higher of delays, issues, problems, challenges arising. And I think at that point, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure you've got a design team that know what they're doing and how to support you throughout the process. You can't just be left. You need some professional support to fall back on. And it's doable, right? And
I suppose at the end of the day as well, the rewards that you're going to get at the end of the process are
100%.
feel a lot more. There's a lot more gratification comes from it at the end process of what you've achieved.
100%.
It's not an easy thing, but it's a very rewarding thing.
Totally.
At the end of it, so.
And I would say we've done 560 residential projects, from self-builds to extensions to bigger developments, and I would probably say out of that, less than 10 would have said at the end of it, I would never do this again. So it's tiny amounts. Yes, some of those projects have never been finished because of cash flow problems, other things that happen in life. But the vast majority, I think, would say that they're proud of it. They've done it again, and we've got loads of success stories where people have built stunning homes that they couldn't have afforded any other way. One, the product didn't exist, right? The product wasn't on the market, and two, they could never have afforded it if it was £3,500 a square metre, and they've built it at 2,000, or the good old days before COVID that people were building at £1,400 a square metre. I mean,
just on that, because I mean we have clients coming in all the time, and you're probably slightly more at the coalface with regards to, you know, seeing tenders coming in for contractors and stuff like that. But in the real world just now, what do you think for a solid specification self-build house? What is that magic square meterage price at the minute?
I think if you're not doing anything ridiculous with big cantilevers, or if it's still efficient and it's a flat level site with traditional foundations, right? So we're not in clay with heave, we're not on a sloping site where we've got to have piled foundations. We're doing simple stuff, still good spec, glass balustrades, nice German kitchens, bathrooms.
Yeah. Good windows.
Nice, good windows, obviously, to fabric first approach.
Yeah.
And they're self-building, so they're self-managing individual trades.
Yeah.
2,200 to 2,700 pounds a square metre is doable. Main contractor, 3,500 upwards.
Yeah.
And again, the smaller you go, so we're seeing loads of little extensions costing a lot of money at the moment.
Yeah.
Because of that, they've just not got the square meterage to put it. Again, you throw in a bungalow in there, so you've not got the floor area to divide it up. It's still the same floor, the same walls, the same roof. It's up at that sort of 3.5.
In a self-building spec, you could be looking at savings between 25 and 30 odd %.
Definitely, you can still do that. Again, caveats, ground condition, how much you've spent on the site. That's a big thing because because we work across the UK, length and breadth of the UK, we see the variations, and unless it's central London, there's not that big variations across the material, labour, yes. It's only when you go into central London that you have things, exorbitant amounts of price for stuff. But yeah, you can still get something in and around those figures, but it has to still be efficient.
Yeah.
So designing things that don't start their life efficient in terms of spans or anything else, that it just becomes that the cost can exponentially go up.
It's interesting. It's a big thing that people always say. I mean, we always say the days are, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 square metre are out the door. But it's good to, you know, for people to understand.
And that was pre-COVID. That was pre-Russian invasion when things went massive in terms of cost. We've seen things steadying out in cost and price recently. Not dramatically. I have heard that things are reducing in terms of materiality, but I'm not overly sure it's been passed on yet. And that's got nothing to do with me.
We don't seem to
have seen it yet.
So I think we're at a level point, and I know from our friends at Build Store and stuff that actually the products are there for finance. So if you're in the right position and you're building something really energy efficient, your mortgage rate can come down, your cost of living can come down because you're not spending so much to heat or cool your building. So actually it's a really good time to self-build. Planning is the biggest challenge we've got in projects that we've got on live at the moment.
So one of the things, just following on from what you've said there, Alan, just you mentioned, you know, you can achieve those cost per square metre rates if the building is designed efficiently. Can you just expand? I mean, I've seen you talk lots of times, so I know loosely what you mean by that. But just again, if we're looking at this from somebody who is completely fresh to self-build and things like that, from your point of view as an architect who's there to help people and help design an efficient building, can you just expand a wee bit? I know, like in my head, I'm thinking some of the things I've heard you say before in terms of, you know, kind of ceiling heights and rooms and you know, different designing to the height that SIPs panels come in and all. Is that the type of stuff that you're talking about when you say designed efficiently? I think anything one that's designed to you and your requirements, so something that's not massive for the sake of being massive, but then you're thinking about everything that we build our houses with will start its life as a certain size. Anything that comes into Travis Perkins, Dewsons, all these guys that they're supplying, your SIPs companies, your timber frame companies, all these things have come as certain standard sizes, so try and work to standard sizes. Timber frames are on 600 grids, SIPs are on 1,200 grids. Brick and block is a certain size. ICF is in 50mm increments for the size of the block. So we can design a building from first principles to maximise the benefits of a certain system. And anything that comes from a
factory. So any modern methods of construction, any time you cut something off, you've got process, you've got wastage that then has to be recycled, and it's also processed. So we can often design something to the efficiencies of a kit and get you a bigger house because we're not cutting bits off. It's more value for money. You mentioned about ceiling heights. If somebody's not asked for a specific floor to ceiling height being greater than the norm, a piece of plasterboard's 2.4 metres high, right? And if you see your floor to ceiling at 2480, there's 80 mil of plasterboard all the way around your house that's coming from another bit of plasterboard. Right? That's just what you're never going to see 80 mil when you're in that house. What I'm not saying is don't get rid of design flair or wow features, but be aware of the money and where you're spending it. We love a glazed gable. We love big wow spaces, but that's putting the money there is fine. And actually what we found, because of having the structural engineering partnership and team that we've got, we can design things efficiently and try and design out pieces of steel. I see so much stuff that is just waste, that's been designed wrong. So you've got a big piece of steel hidden somewhere that could have been designed out properly. So there's things like that in terms of efficiency. Form factors, another thing, you'll be fully aware of this with a passive house. Anything that's designed more complex and it's got more surface area, it's going to cost more, and you've got potential bigger issues for loss in terms of heat loss. And when the most efficient, I mean, the Scottish longhouse is probably as an efficient a house you could get. 4 corners. Every time a SIPS or a timber frame company costs something, they've got a linear meterage and then they've got number of corners. So if you've got something, we see this quite a lot when we do seminars and somebody's standing up and they're delighted with their plans and they've got their H.
Dodecahedron shaped.
But even an H shape or an L shape or anything like that, or God, anything with a curve, you're just adding zeros onto your cost. But if you think in an H, all the unnecessary, you could have a 150 square metre house over 2 stories that's a linear rectangle, or it's spread even over 1 floor as an H. The amount of perimeter area and everything else there is it's not efficient at all. But people don't think about those things, and the architect might go off, and if they're working with the wrong architect who's not cost savvy or trying to design it to that budget, they'll give them this design that's just from first principles could never have worked on that budget.
And I know it's one of the things we joked about at the start of this, but you guys heavily use VR, which for us, it's been a game changer in the way in which we've set this business up in terms of how we're going about it and what we're striving to do at the end of the project, and what we're trying to achieve to be able to show clients far more in depth about what spaces physically feel like to stand in and look out of, because we see it all the time where architects, you get a beautiful set of drawings, lovely set of elevations, someone has obviously spent a lot of time, effort and whatever going into it, but simple things exactly like you were saying about designing economically, not necessarily in terms of energy efficiency, but the amount of times we see a set of drawings come in where the entire ground floor windows are all 2.8 metres high. And you're going, like, does the ceiling in the bathroom downstairs cloakroom need to be 2.8? No, it doesn't. You can have the design flair, you can have the full height gable feeling windows and all the rest of it, but people also need to understand that the minute you go over 2.4, you're into a totally different realm of glazing, plasterboard application, jointing, lengths of timber when you're cladding the outside of the building. These things are all a massive thing. Even, the simple thing of plastering the ceiling and having guys on stilts and all the rest of it, it's a huge thing. And is there other tools out there that the layman who is starting out this process just now that they can look at in terms of VR or spaces where they can go to physically stand in spaces and go, right, okay, actually I don't need 2.8, I need 2.4, or other tools and things like that to help people?
A lot of our clients use Google SketchUp. And they'll do that to start modelling out ideas they like, or even look at house types that are online. Actually physically just starting to properly look at the spaces you're in. Just take notice of where you are and see, because volume has a massive impact on how you use a space. So a 2 metre ceiling will be massively different to double height volume, and you can play about with space, and we often do that where we have nice entrance spaces where it's double height and you welcome people into that, but more utilitarian spaces, or you might want a snug. You don't want a snug with a 4 double height space, right? Just not the right thing to do. And again, proportions. You need to think about proportions. Big double height in a really small, narrow room is horrible. So these are things, and the way that our software that we've worked in since the very beginning, ArchiCAD is a BIM software, so everything's in 3D. So when we don't have issues where we draw something and then it doesn't actually fit when we put the construction method in, because it's already in there in the model. But we've got apps that we output all our designs to our clients' iPads or whatever it is they're going to be, and it just updates and they can walk around it in full 3D. But VR has been the biggest step forward in the last 3 or 4 years for us, that people who, and I would urge anybody who's not used to looking at 2D drawings in their day-to-day life, they'll never understand a set of drawings. The full impact
it's the biggest
of it.
comment we get on a
So
daily
actually,
basis.
you need the tools to be able to see that. And VR is because an iPad is great, but you fully being immersive in a set of goggles is the only way, other than actually when you build the space.
Yeah, and I think, you know, so that's great in terms of being able to visualize the kind of, maybe not necessarily the end product, but as part of a tool of, you know, get you to like where you want to be in terms of your design. I think what's really interesting is the conversation that we've been having there is obviously about like doing your research and then understanding the impact of certain things. And I think that it's probably important to kind of point out that, you know, the necessity to try and do it in that kind of in that way, i.e., you know, starting with the research, because if you go straight to something like VR, it must be very easy to get, you know, caught up in the wow, this looks amazing and let's do it this way and that. But if you don't already understand some of the points you made about, you know, designing efficiently, then, you know, it'd be very easy to say, oh yeah, well let's make all these mistakes that we're trying to help people to understand, because, you know, I think the biggest stuff for me is people's understanding of the impact of going non-standard. Like once you go beyond, you know, 2.4, there is this wastage element. Now, don't get me wrong, there are ways in which you could, you know, say, right, we'll make it, you know, so that whatever you're kind of cutting off gets used somewhere else, or, you know, there's lots of things that you can do. But if you just don't understand those first principles and you just go straight into a kind of a design tool, which is a bit of a wow factor, like VR is mind blowing. It can also be detrimental to the project. So it's important to go through the process.
But I think the prime point there is all these things, all these tools, VR, even PHPP from a passive house point of view, it's only as good as the input. So you can, if you have somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, creating something lovely that looks nice in VR, and they've not said to you, well, you can have that, but that's going to add 20 grand on your budget. That's pointless. And we're really good. We have arguments, we have fights, we have whatever else it is with the client, and pull back. You've said this. You can't have that. Or what are we? Has the budget changed? Where are we taking it from?
That magic feature that costs £40,000.
But I'd also much rather they said, right, well, we're fully aware of that and we want that. Let's try and design it as efficiently as possible. We still get clients saying, well, yeah, but I want that. Make it work. And a lot of the time we'll find a smart way. We'll pare it back, we'll pull all the elements apart.
But there has to be a sacrifice made somewhere in order to accommodate.
And by the way, you never save any money with self-build. You just repurpose it somewhere else. Like it always
you just move it about.
Exactly.
Move it about.
Exactly.
And I suppose, I mean, if you were sitting down for a client for like an initial consultation, and probably you more than most architects in the UK do this regularly, even when they're not your client, because you do a lot of consultation at the home build renovating shows and ask the expert panels and stuff like that. What generally is your advice when it comes to things like non-negotiables? So, you know, when clients come to us, we have a kind of non-negotiables type scenario conversation at the start, where we say, look, we must have a big lift and slide door in this location. we really, really want to have that glass to glass corner there. Other than that, we're open to interpretation in terms of material, fit, finish, everything else. What would you, sitting down with a client who's starting out this process just now, what would you say to them is, this is the non-negotiables that you should stick to?
Yeah, I think they need to tell us that. So we need that in a project brief to start with. What are the must-haves? What are the on the wish list desirables? What are the ones that could be compromised in and out, and create a list of things that they must have. But then even with that, I mean, you mentioned glass to glass corners. It's like, well, are you willing? Does it need to be glass to glass? Or do we still want a corner window and we can have a post?
Exactly.
Like it's then those further discussions about, well, do you want that? And going another layer down of just like, well, these are the rooms that I want to have, but a home office doesn't need to have 2 seats. Do you want to have a seating area? Do you want to be able to see outside? Do you want to be able to have a little coffee area so you're not going back down? It's getting clients to think about the use of a space, because they can say one thing, and if we delve in a little bit more information about why they're doing it, how they're going to use it, we can say, well, but that space isn't there all the time. So why don't we? That could be the snug at the end of the evening, or it could be the kids' playroom when they go to bed. That actually could be a fold-down desk that becomes your office because you only work at night. Like it's levels, and I think we're really good at understanding and almost questioning clients even more to get right. What is this really about?
So one of the kind of takeaways just when you were talking there, and some that kind of clicked is, it's almost the job of the client actually to, before they engage in this conversation and sit down with architects and, you know, I suppose start spending money, is to create things like Pinterest stuff, go around and have a look, because I suppose at the end of the day, the more information that they can bring to the table for you, the better the understanding of what you kind of get a feel for what they want to achieve. And I suppose you can also jump on it straight away at that point and say, look guys, you can't afford this. You know, that, like, or you're way out the ballpark.
Exactly.
You know,
and Pinterest has been one of the biggest revelations in the last 5-10 years in terms of us getting understanding, because it's not our house, it's not our home, it's yours, it's you as the end client. You're doing this, so we're wanting to design something from you. We don't have a design style. We try and design homes to what our clients want within a budget, within the planning constraints that there are in that local area. So Pinterest, managing Pinterest boards, doing it properly, going through it. I see so many people that have got one board and it's just everything, or they've like most of our, when we really delve into it, most of our clients have got 10 to 15 boards. They've gone through it, they've written comments, they share it with us. We usually get to see what time they wake up in the middle of the night for a pee, and then we get a little ping in the middle of the night saying, no, they've pinned another thing, or another image. It's also really good to have a dislike board. Like I do not like this. Do not put this in my house.
To be fair, I've never heard that before, but that is a really, you know, because actually you see things and you think, well, and then you just flick past it and you never come back. But you know, like exactly like the like side of things, like how would you know?
Oh, exactly.
Unless it's there,
and you might get loads of the worst type of client is really I've got no opinion, or I don't really know what I want, and I've got no budget. I don't even know what my budget is. They're the one. We want information, and it's our job to get that out of you if we've not got it. But the dislike board came about. That was from doing at the home building renovating shows. I get to do Ask the Experts, so I get to sit 15 minutes speed dating for self build. Get to look at loads of people's drawings, and I come away from weekends.
Do you know,
thinking,
I've never thought about that either. But like when you now we're often, when we're at the home building and renovating shows, we're often like next to that. I'm never not going to be able to look over at Alan
ringing a bell and
speed dating.
Exactly, taking the details down
for customers.
Well, that is like you're taking the can I take your details? Actually,
I'd rather not.
Sorry, not today.
Not for us, Alan.
Not for us. No, it's usually the other way around.
Of course.
But I forgot what I was going to say. That was going to be the best
dislike
point.
Board, the dislike board.
I know. So, but it came about from there, but seeing other people's drawings, and they would sort of say stuff, and I'd be like, "Really? Like, how did you get to this point?" And they're like, "Well, we kind of like it, but it's our architect said this or did this." I'm like, "But are they paying for this? Are they living in there? So, and I had an old boss once that used to put a circular porthole windows in every house. And I used to turn up as a young architect.
That was his signature.
Yeah. But regardless if the client didn't like it or not, or lived by the sea, it was kind of irrelevant. But
you will be getting a porthole.
Us young architects had to go up with these drawings, and they were like, we've said about 8 times now we don't want that. I was like, it's
like
a feature.
It's not my name in the bottom right. I can't make that call.
What I do.
I know. So.
Frank Lloyd Wright approach, which is like, I'll tell them what they like.
But that's slightly different to my experience at that point. So as good an architect as he was.
So Pinterest's a big tool.
Brilliant.
Just tell people to kind of doubt before they start the process. It's, because at the end of the day, I think this is geared towards people who are doing this, and it's a free app. You can download it and start doing it.
You will lose hours, days, months of your life.
I mean, like, and find yourself like finishing off like an episode or something on Netflix and saying, I don't remember seeing half of that.
I remember the opening
credits. I filled up 2 boards.
Yeah, exactly.
Should probably state for the record here that Steph had a Pinterest board for the showroom here. It never got shared with me.
No,
but it did get opened, and I showed you the bits on several occasions.
So this is a prime example of partners need to do it together.
I don't know how you can't understand, Mark. This is what I was going for.
I know. It'd be interesting to go back and see actually how close it actually is.
It probably isn't that far away, to be honest.
Some of the bits aren't that far away. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, like, watch this space for the vlog. Get that one.
Other bits of tech didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even want to see Mark's tech Pinterest board.
Oh no. The coffee machine was on a Pinterest board. I know that for a fact.
Tech one,
The VR setup.
The VR setup. Yeah,
that'll be next week. That'll be sorted. I've absolutely no. It's a technical. It's a glitch at the gremlin in the system.
Yeah, we'll be like another grand down. But
that's the easy way to fix it.
I think that is.
Throw money at it.
We've been avoiding that.
But
we'll maybe just bite the bullet.
So Pinterest, definitely.
Actually, the other thing that just like quickly, just before we move on, and this is just from us having conversations, I was shocked to hear you say that like you have like sat with people, you kind of alluded to it there, sat with people who have like got this finished set of drawings and say, I don't really like it. I think
it's a standard.
I mean, I suppose if they are paying someone else to design it and they've not really communicated what they want, like it does kind of make sense. But I think in my head I've like romanticized self-build to the point where you're building your dream house, this thing that you've had in your head for years and it's finally coming to fruition. And I suppose maybe some people just get caught up in, like we've got time and we've got money and we should build our own house, or we've thought about it or we've flirted with the idea, and it just still kind of shocks me really to hear that people have gone down 20 or 30% of the process and have got a result. Not that they've necessarily built it, but they've spent a huge amount of money to get to a point where they're like, don't really like it. Take it or leave it.
And there are things that happen. There are constraints that come along and compromise that come along. But if it's so far off the original brief, that's just not the right thing to do. But I mean, a prime example of that is Graven Hill, the big custom and self-build development near Bicester. And we've done loads of really nice houses there where clients have gone, and there's lots of stunning homes there. But there's also you've had any chance to do whatever you've wanted. So
this is like just a big site with individual plots that are sold off, and you can do whatever you want. There's also
developer housing. But people are buying a plot with a plot passport that gives them a bit of rules. But you can, effectively, you can do what you want. Mm-hmm. There's lots of Scandi houses. There's lots of different styles of houses. But there's also 10 or 15 Taylor Wimpey copies.
Right.
So you've had free reign. You've been able to do whatever you want, and people have still done that. And I think, that's just I think it's really maybe, and again, they might have really loved that, but the chances
It's
are
exactly
they've just
what I was going to say. Like
that's
maybe that
what we
is the
do
dream
in
house.
the UK.
But you could have just bought that.
Much cheaper.
But yeah,
buying it directly from Taylor
but
Wimpey
you're
or
also
Persimmon.
you're also going to wake up in that environment where like you get out of your house in the morning and drive onto that street, and if anybody hasn't seen it, you can search Graven Hill online and have a look, and there's fantastic plots that Alan's done on his website as well. But every single one of these houses is like niche, bespoke. There's probably been about 15 on Grand Designs over the years as well.
Two series of Grand Designs called The Streets that were filmed there. And we've got a couple of houses on it, and it's.
Why could you? If I've driven down that street and I looked, because I know exactly what you're saying, and I've seen a couple of the houses, but I would just be like, I couldn't show my face on the street. No.
Maybe they're like,
we'll build
we've got the best one.
I know, you idiots.
Exactly. I can't believe they've done that.
A Macallan Type 4 from the Cala manual.
That was designed 30 years ago.
But we put a glazed gable at the back in the sunroom, and we've got a bifold door.
Yeah, exactly.
We changed the design.
It doesn't quite open.
It's the original Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I know. No,
but the caveat to that is it's their house, and if they're happy in it, then
100%.
That's kind of fine, right?
And that's, I mean, I've got no issue with it in the sense that if they love it, then that's my only issue is with people who are like most of the way down that route, and they're like, fucking, I could take it or leave it. I don't really like it.
That's just not. And I always say to people at that point, well, if you really dislike it, just stop, start again. Like just
pull the
plug, start again. The money that you've spent might have been wasted, but it might also. You might have had to have gone through those things to get to that point. And we always do 2 designs for every client to start with, right? And 95% of the time they'll say they like a bit from this and a bit from this, and it becomes a third design that gets revised. The odd occasion they go, I hate both of those. Yeah. But I'd much rather hear that. And what we try and say, and there's always a big, oh God, this isn't working. But we always like, you know what, that's okay, because we've got 2 things now that you don't like. It's the same as the dislike board. Yeah. We now know that we have to do something completely different to that. So you often have to get to that point, but don't be that. Don't let that be the end point. Yeah, you know. And I suppose, I mean, architecture is a very personal. It's a personal thing to the person who is designing that house as well, not the person who's building it, but someone who's sitting there taking a brief and coming up with a design and doing it. You can be personally invested in it. Is that type of rejection hard? I mean, something when you sit down and you look at something and go, you finish it because he then just repackages it and sells it on the website. Pre-loved homes. But there is obviously that scenario where if you've been working on something for like 24 hours or whatever, currently sketch concepts or something, and you sit back and go, this is amazing. Like, I would love this house. To then have someone turn around to you and go, no. That, I mean, is that a bit of pill to swallow? It is really hard to take, but the fact is, it doesn't happen that many times. No. And we've learned enough. Some of the newer, younger architects, it's harder for them to take. Somebody who's done this forever, they know that it's a process. It's more the reaction with the client. Because they think, I've made a big mistake, these are the wrong people, they've got this completely wrong. It usually comes down to we've not explored the brief right with them, or deep enough, or they've not had time to really think about something, or they've had a preconceived idea in their head. Yeah, I've seen this house type and I want it to be that. And we've then looked at it, and we design a house to relate to the site, to the topography, to what the sun's doing, the client, the requirements, everything else. They might have just thought, well, I want this house and I want that room to be there, and we go, well, but your sun's coming round the other way, so that doesn't need daylight, so let's not put it there. So it's once you've usually had that conversation, it's far easier to explain, well, the big danger is you send something out with no commentary, set of PDF drawings go out, early stage, and it's like, oh, that's not what I suppose having, exactly what you said, by having designs that people don't like, but also having something that you've put time and effort into, you can explain scenarios easier to a client. You can say, well, look, I understand you don't like it, but the reason I did this was because you said that. And we see it here all the time when clients come in and go, I want timber aluminium. And you go, okay. But you're also telling me that,
it's this size of house, and you've kind of initiated your budget and things like that.
Similarly, they just say like internal colour, external colour. So you give them UPVC, and then they're like, no, I wanted timber.
I wanted
You're
timber.
But you never said timber.
Well, exactly.
You said white on the inside, and we're trying. We're looking at the house thinking, there's like 4 sliders and 2 glazed gables, and another 35 windows. You've said this budget.
Yeah.
The only way for us to hit that is to do that.
Yeah.
But also, it's white on the inside. So
it's white on the inside.
Let's not have wood
Exactly.
paint it.
100%, and nobody needs 3 lift and slide doors in one kitchen.
No,
you can only use one at a time.
Exactly.
It's another one we see all the time. I've got 3 sets of sliding doors. All right, okay, you got like upstairs bedroom. No, they're all in the kitchen.
Aye.
What do you mean? Well, we've got one at the kitchen end, one at the dining table end, and then we've kind of got a living room type area, and we want one there.
Yeah.
Okay, and is it in separate? No, it's all open plan. I mean, but people don't understand when you start talking about costs, and I don't know how much detail you go into this, Alan, when you're sitting down with clients, but I think people need to understand more.
And again, just to caveat that, you can have it if you want it.
You can have it.
We're here for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have done projects where that is the case, and they look absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
But if your budget doesn't allow for it,
exactly.
let's not do it.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that we see is that clients have got absolutely no grasp.
Yeah.
And to be honest, some architects don't either have any grasp on how much things cost. Yeah. Because sometimes when we are looking at it, we see a job come in with 6 sets of sliding doors, and the client's going, we've got a good chunk of money. We're spending $500,000 on the build. We've got 10% towards a window contract. Steph and I's ears are picking up, going, that's realistic. That's good. Yeah, we've got six sets of sliding doors.
Aye.
At 10 grand each.
Yep.
Okay, that's your budget gone. There's not a single window. Yep. Is there again, kind of going back to the tool thing, or is it generally a conversation that you like to sit down with people and have around budget, where people can almost, I don't know, budget cost things themselves? Is there like a calculator that people can use, or is it generally, to gain square meterages and things like that? Is there a rule of thumb that you give people?
I mean, we know because
you're doing it all the time.
Because we're doing it all the time, that we can say confidently it fits within that budget. The caveat to that is, well, at early stage, it could still be a low cost timber frame. It could be a SIPS, it could be an ICF, it could be a UPVC, it could be there's different areas to get the same thing, or the same look or feel. But what I'd much rather do is design something and then come to you guys and say, right, these are the options. Can you give me a UPVC quote, double, a triple, a timber alu, a slider versus a bifold? And again, we'll be saying to the client, well, do you want to be able to open it up? Is it going to be closed most of the time? Well, you want sliders then, because you don't want loads of stuff in the way. We'll have all those conversations that usually gets you to a point where it's the most efficient and it's the right product or the right style of something. Then it's down to specification.
And you're trying to have that conversation as early on in the design process as humanly possible.
We try and have the big ticket items. Like, what do we know about the ground conditions? Because the structural engineering, we can say, is it strip found, is it piles, whatever else is it going to be? Because there could be 40 grand difference on the same thing. Is it timber frame, SIPS, ICF, brick and block? Because there could be 10-20% swing on that element, the same as you guys. Like coming in, and then they're a lot of the big fabric first impact superstructure stuff, where a lot of the other stuff can be specification. It can be marginal gains across lots of different things. But you've also got to understand what the big ticket items like kitchens and bathrooms, and where do they sit with there, because you can it can
how
run
long's a
away
piece
with,
of string on those on those I mean, we have you have the watch analogy or the car analogy. If someone goes into a car garage and simply says, I want a 4x4 that's black with leather interior and 4 wheels, you could buy something at 12 grand or buy something at 220 grand. There is levels to things, and I think, as we always say to people, and we say it to people who come into the showroom, is it's free to go and look. To go around kitchen showrooms, bathroom showrooms, window showrooms, even like house builders, like who are building new build houses, to see like show homes and things like that. I think these are great things that people should do, because they can stand in something and feel and go, this feels expensive, or that feels cheap, or you know, and gain as much of a kind of budget insight as they can initially to get a feel of how much things cost.
I mean, one of the big things that we fight people on, or not fight people on, but like, you know, definitely kind of struggle or see people struggling with, is the perception of UPVC and the reality of UPVC now. And I suppose this is kind of a nice wee segue based on what you were saying already, Al, in terms of the things that you're talking to clients about in terms of, you know, where are you going to put furniture? How do you want to move through this space? Do you want it all open? Is it going to be a slider? Is it going to be a, you know, with windows and doors playing such a big part in the design of a building, like what type of conversations are you having with people, and you know, what are the kind of like main drivers that you are indicating to them, or you know, what are part of the discussions or that you're going through to help the considerations that self-builders are going to need to take, and you know, kind of guide them towards something that's going to work for them?
Yeah, I think there's lots of, as you guys know more than most people, there's so much involved in openings generally, in terms of the quality, the size, the operation, the look, the feel through it. Overheating now massively. We've got loads of architects who aren't even considering overheating.
And it's still underestimated in Scotland. You're living in Scotland, everybody's like, oh yeah, we never see the sun. But it's like, you know, if it's airtight and well insulated, it doesn't take much for that building to overheat if it's not ventilated properly.
And the vast majority of our clients are either building too passive or getting certified at the moment. So that will drive us down a certain route in terms of specification, number of seals, triple glazed, type of product, type of company. And then the other thing is, well, it's size of opening. So if we are going above 2, 2.4, 2.8, we're in a certain type of material. So it might drive you towards, or drive you away from timber. But we know those things. A lot of people are designing without knowing those basic requirements or limitations of product. But then it's being able to see it, touch it, that feel, and actually do we want to hide the reveals? Is it ultra contemporary where it looks like it's just a glass opening without any frame? So then we're into certain products that don't need ventilated. Again, all these things it's a culmination of everyone, budget, design, and what they want to see or feel. And then you're then into, well, how do we open it? Like all these different other things from it. What does it look like internally, externally? What's the ironmongery and everything else? So I think what you guys do and being able to come and see things physically is amazing. And the UPVC thing is if it was me and if it was my project, I would be going for cost benefit to performance, bang for buck, it would be UPVC every day of the week. And I just wouldn't ever tell anybody it was UPVC, because it's so much of it is people's perception rather than when you look at the product. And
externally, you're not going to know the difference.
Exactly. You can't tell externally, but even internally on some of the examples that we got here in the showroom, you know, people come in, and I've had discussions with people where they've said, okay, well, you know, I like this and this, but I don't like any of the UPVC options. And you're like, well, this one's timber, but that one that you've pointed to is UPVC. So
no, it's not.
It's difficult for you to tell me you don't like UPVC when you've picked it as an example. So, you know, it's not as straightforward as you know, it's this kind of shiny white plastic. Which it was at one point.
It's just the stigma of it in the UK, which just isn't there. It's education. In the rest of the developed world. Really,
it's just. I mean, you know, like obviously we've kind of, if you follow the vlog, you know that we're kind of investigating other countries and stuff like that at the moment, and you know, like places like France, Spain. It's predominantly white on white UPVC. That's like one of the biggest sellers. They don't have an issue with that material because they see the bang for their buck in terms of what the quality that they're getting at a like lower cost. So,
but there's a big thing of is there's good quality PVC and there's
100%.
the bad stuff, and I think in the architectural world now, architectural glazing side of things, the European products are leaps bounds ahead of anything that's getting produced in the UK. And I mean, one of the big things again is the triple for double, or the, double glazing versus triple glazing scenario. And I know you said at the start, AC Architects as a firm doesn't really have a design style, but probably one of the things that you're most renowned for is talking about energy efficient homes, and that if anything, whilst you don't have a style, if you like, because you've got so many guys working in the practice, the big thing that you do have is that you take a lot of time and effort into is energy efficiency. And how, from the stage that we're at now, do you see that as being a far more common request now when clients are approaching you, as opposed to, I just want a big massive house?
I think our clients they pick themselves, or they pre-qualify themselves that they want that anyway, because of the type of people that we work with and the type of work we do. But it's, to me, that's not even on the list of must-have. Like, that's just a given. It should be fabric first. It should be energy efficient. Should be designed to maximise gain, but not have overheating issues. And when you do certain things of saying, well, I want it to be airtight, you don't have to have a conversation about MVHR, because you need to have that. And it's like, well, then how far? And we'd obviously want to have triple glazing because we want to deal with comfort as well. So there's all these other added value and improvements that once you explain it, things become, well, it's a no-brainer. It's well, of course we're going to have a kitchen, a bathroom, and we're going to have it's going to that forever. But we don't want to build a poorly built, leaky house. So we want it to be airtight. But these are conversations that we shouldn't have to have at the moment, but we still do. But our content for the last 10, 12 years has been gauged around educating that should be the norm. And it's just because of the national house builders that's not the norm here, and it's just a product.
We've got, when you look at the housing stock that the UK has just now, and let's face it, pardon the French, but our housing stock is shit. Ex-local authority stuff that we have is terrible. You look at the amount of houses that we're now knocking down because they cost too much to refurb or to insulate or to anything else. I think the biggest mistake that we see, and we're one of the probably few parties within the process that see multiple sets of drawings from hundreds of different architects, whereby, and you can almost tell where the kind of care and thought process goes into it when you start reading the specification. In this day and age, we are still seeing drawings coming in with 4-inch stick-built timber kits and rock wool insulation. And
very quickly see the specs that have been copy and pasted for years.
For the last 10 years.
But I mean, when I was working in practice, so it was like 2007, 2006, 2007, we were moving to 6-inch kit was the standard then. We're still seeing drawings now coming out and going, it's 4-inch kit, and Malky's building it on site, and we're going to use loads of rock wool everywhere.
It'll be great, but I'm going to put an air source heat pump in.
But I'm putting an air source heat pump.
You've just moved the problem.
Underfloor heating and 16 boilers to power it.
It's great, exactly. But a big thing that shows how bad this all is all the money that's going in with grants with the government for retrofit and for improving the housing stock. You automatically think, well, we're looking at stuff from the 60s and the 70s. It includes stuff from 5 years ago. Like, that's the reality of the things that we're still putting up that's been designed 10, 15 years ago, that because of the way the building regs process has gone, they've got stuff in, it just scrapes through. And it's leaky and it's poorly built. And as I say, they think by putting an air source heat pump in, they're fixing the problem. It's still, the energy demand is still there. It's just coming from another source.
Focus on the roof, the walls, the floor, the windows, everything else. Get the fabric first,
Yeah.
and everything else is a kind of nice
Exactly.
follow on.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It is crazy.
We've gone through most of the kind of, not necessarily talking points, but lots of the kind of initial self-build level stuff there. I think we'll maybe do a wee bit of recap at the end, just because it would be interesting to hear from you, Allan, just maybe some of the places where people can find information. Obviously your website and things, but there's other, I mean, I think the more we chat, the more I'm kind of thinking as well, like where would somebody start? You know, like, because I don't know that it's necessarily that well publicized. That like that your website is really good for it, because you know, you have a kind of start here, kind of prompt, and I think that's great. But if somebody didn't find you, are there other people out there, you know, saying this is where you start, or this is where they? And I just mean like I don't necessarily mean like architects. I more mean like Tom McSherry from Build Store is one of the people that we are also speaking to about coming here and having one of these conversations, just so that, you know, again, people have the opportunity to see what they do. That must be a good kind of starting point, but it's not necessarily something that I've come across. I know that there's the other just to finish that thought, it's not something that I've like come across and thought, oh, see, if I was doing a self-build, that's where I would start. I'm sure you find it if you're going into that process. And then obviously there's the home building and renovating show that you do, or you're part of, and the Swindon, I can't remember the full name of it off the top of my head, but the self-build centre in Swindon. Like, is there more than that, or is that the main ones?
I mean, I think there's obviously there's home building live in person shows, right? So you've got home building and renovating show and magazine, which I work for, and I'm proud to work for. They've got 8 shows across the length and breadth of the UK. There's smaller Scottish home building shows I know you guys are going to trial out, and then there's Build It Live. So Build It magazine, they've got their own smaller regional shows across England. Then you've got National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, which is based in Swindon. So it's a 60,000 square foot permanent exhibition, free to go to. There's 3 or 4 big houses in it. We've got an office in it. That's a great place, regardless of where you live in the UK. It's a reason to go to Swindon. And go spend a day. You can go. One of the big benefits I find from going, and I'll get in trouble for this, but for not going to an in-person show, which we do as well, you're doing it on your own pace without getting harassed.
Yes.
Right? And we don't do that when we're at home building renovating shows. We're there to guide and provide advice, but you're on your own terms. You scan what you want and you get information from them. So it's a great learning curve at your pace. We've got our self-build hour, which is our online monthly webinar. And then you've got other resources that, again, subscribe to the magazines. We've got our seminars as well that we do. So we host seminars. Sips Industries holds seminars. You're part of our seminars that we do. So these are all in-person things. And then at the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, they've got courses you can go on. So you can go for paid courses, I think 150 quid for a day. You can go and learn how to be a project manager. They're the sort of things that you can do. Huge value that you can get out of these things. And purchasing Mark Brinkley's House Building Bible, I think it's on its 25th variation now. You'll get it on Amazon. And read that and you'll know as much as most builders do in the UK. So it's a real good, if you're wanting to do some of the hands-on, like labour side of things, that'll give you a good indication on what you can and can't do. Just consume as much content from the right places as you can. And learn on it and just be the best self-builder you can be.
Gather information right in the very start. If you're talking about takeaways, get that Pinterest album open.
Completely.
Spend time going to these shows, because and we see it ourselves that the home build renovating shows, they're fantastic. They're like a great place to go see, feel and touch. But a lot of these stands are really busy, and it's hard to sometimes speak to people And you're right, the good thing with the NHRBC's place is you can go there and you can scan, scan it at your own free will. You can take pictures as much as you want. And it's probably another good thing to kind of build up that catalogue. And I mean, the world's different now, but like I remember when I was working in architecture, I used to have like a box of brochures at the side. You remember the library? Yep. It's like when you were starting out, you used to get sent up there to go and sort all the books out and put them in alphabetical order. Yep. But having that library of like, a bank of window brochures or a folder on your computer where you can say, that's windows, that's my bathrooms, that's floor tiles, that's roof slate, because it's not until you start looking at the specific elements, like slate for roofs, it's Spanish, Welsh, Scottish, they all cost different price points. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, China. Yeah. But you've got Timu. Exactly. But you've got you go into one subject and it's a can of worms. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
You're better going in to find out what you don't like early on and building up that database of stuff.
I think the other thing that I would say about the facility at Swindon is, and Alan mentioned it there, is because it's like an all year round thing, they have displays there that you wouldn't see at a kind of temporary thing or one of these weekend shows. I've not been in a number of years, but my memory of it is that they have at least 2 or 3 full house style displays, which I mean we've spoke about going down just for
a look,
well, for the vlog as well, and just again.
Have you got a vlog?
You'll find it on YouTube.
On this YouTube.
At Glass.
And
it's on
like,
the YouTube.
We're gonna like put a wee sticker on your t-shirt as well for the vlog.
I'm still waiting for some branded merch, by the way.
New merch coming soon.
New merch coming soon. So, but the other, as well as those houses, which you can walk around and things like that, they've got like these massive detail sections for kind of foundations and drainage and stuff like that. And obviously, kind of looping back around to what we mentioned at the start, if you're trying to get your head into, if you don't understand 2D, like that's a really good starting point of like understanding, right, all of this stuff's got to go in the ground and in the foundations, and then everything else goes on top, and it's like it's really
reality of what the different things actually look like.
Because it's like one of those things that you see on TV where they do like stuff exploded. It's like that in real life, and you can walk around it and take pictures and refer back to that. When you're going through that process. So it's really cool, and it's a good starting point. We'll collate a wee list and whatnot, and we'll have a wee chat about when we can maybe go down there.
Because and a lot of this advice that like about the self-build centre and stuff like that, you've got a mass of resources on your website as well. Like a kind of database that people can go and have a look at, before they even engage with you or whatever else. There's huge resources. We've got a learning centre, and
we've been writing blogs for 10 years now. So we were visionaries before you guys even knew the TikTok existed.
And that is very true.
Yes.
It's a huge amount of information on that website. A huge amount of information, including full house plans that come with very reputably sourced windows and doors. So
reputably.
Link below. Do you have a favourite project that you've worked on? So and maybe you've got a top 3 or whatever.
Yeah, but I've got. So there's probably a couple. So there's a house that's on a lot of our stuff, and actually Home Build and Renovate have used it in a lot of promotional stuff. It's a house in Auchterarder for a client called Colin Amor, and it's a beautiful timber home. And it was probably one of the first ones that we got a big break on. It was a proper big full house, good budget. Wanted to be done fabric first. This was probably 15 years ago, and it stood the test of time. Very proud of it, and that's probably one of the ones that's had the biggest impact on our business. And it's one that the client's delighted with. It still looks exactly the same. The timber's weathered properly, and he's delighted with it. And then the other one is one that's still on site in Crophaven, which we've worked on together. It's got an internorm window. Stunning location, built into a sort of quarried bank at the top of a hill. That sort of epitomises self-build and
the clients as well.
The clients, the struggle, the getting through it, the really putting yourself out there, the impact of COVID, you guys storing windows.
We'll put some pictures in the B-roll here to have a look at Grovehaven, because it's
awesome.
Stunning project, client. They've done. We're very proud of them, right, and what they've done and what they've put into it, and it's a testament to what you can do when you put your mind to something and stick with it. And it's not been easy. They've had health problems. There's been COVID. There's been price hikes. There's been just delays. There's been everything else. It's a challenging site in the first place. Remote, top of a hill, but it's getting there, and they're working. They're doing it themselves. They'll be finished a year, 2 years time maybe. But it's wind and watertight. It looks stunning, and it's
like a shining example of what you said earlier about clients getting a building that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to afford. Exactly,
and they couldn't have. We challenged them a lot. It was a response to the design and to the site and everything else, but they couldn't have. No way could they have afforded that house, or that house didn't exist anyway. The open market.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah, but they couldn't. There's no possible way they could have afforded that if they hadn't self-built and they hadn't separated labour and material and done a lot of the labour themselves. So.
And their level of involvement and wanting to understand I remember, like spending 2-3 hours on a Zoom call going over how, because this was a prime example of what we were talking about at the start, where on that project they didn't have the budget to do the full install on all the windows. So what we had proposed at the time was saying, look, there's a lot of windows in here which we think with some help and assistance you could get by being one of our labourers, and we'll send another guy who's experienced down with you. However, you've got like 2 doors there at 2.6 tons, 9 metres in the air. You need us to install these, but the level of detail when I went in, I can remember doing a site inspection on the job, and it's just, you're right, it's a perfect example of a client who's sat at night, read through our technical manuals, read through everything else, because I would go as far to say the degree of neatness and attention to detail they put into things like his application of the contraband, air tightness tapes, everything else. When I went up to have a look at it, I could not tell the difference between what our guys had fitted and what he had done. And I thought, and I was just like, in some cases I was like, you could get a job.
Do you want a job? Once you finish your house,
exactly.
Do you want a job?
He's like, don't get me wrong, he says, it took me, your guys would do 7 windows in a day. It took me a day to do 2. But I sat back at the end of it, and it's just, and that's when, and you could see that he enjoyed it. And I suppose that epitomises self-build in a nutshell. And I think the big thing there is having the support of your contractors and your suppliers and everything else, and that design team that you spoke about at the start.
Exactly, and David in our office has worked tirelessly with Phil and Lynn to help them understand what the things are, and a lot of our clients are very detail orientated, and they want to know, they need an explanation of why things have been done, and then they go with your judgment, and then then they want to follow in, as you say, reading data sheets and manufacturer spec, and then filling it out and completing it on site. Is, as I say, there's no loss in quality at all in the finish. So and as and when they get it finished, it'll be an exceptional house.
And I suppose moving to kind of wrap things up, how long's ACA been going now as a practice?
2009 as a sort of side hustle, and 2011 as a limited company.
And now, how many architects do you guys got?
So we've got 6 architects. We've got a team of 20. Effectively. So we've got architects, technicians, technologists, passive house, structural engineers, and everything sort of in between.
And in that time, obviously, you've seen the recessions, you've seen building regulations change, everything else. Is there any kind of, I don't know, buzzwords come, trends or anything that you see happening, that's up and coming that you guys as a business are trying to jump on, or you as the business owner are trying to move ahead with, or trying to lead the forefront of?
I think it's always been the energy efficiency side of things, and how it's not a lot of people were getting all excited about new building regs. They made absolutely no difference to us.
Yeah.
They didn't even. I couldn't tell you a backstop U value.
Yeah.
We don't design to them. We never have. We've always designed far in excess of that, because, in my opinion, they're not anywhere near strict enough.
Yeah.
The airtightness of the building regs, all these sort of things. So we've always been ahead of the curve in that. And in terms of design features, it's what our architects want. It's what our clients want. I love a bit of corner glazing. I love a window seat. Love a glazed gable.
He does love a bit of corner glazing.
Yeah, I do. Staring at one, trying not to look at you and staring at one in the corner. But again, it's all: is it right for that product? Is it right for that project? Is it right for that client? And it's the application of tech. I think you guys are on top of that as well. That it's not tech for tech's sake. It's kind of add value to us as a business. And the one thing we had when we introduced VR 3 or 4 years ago was seeing the architects going in. So it wasn't just about the clients, it was going to see the architects going in and sitting for an hour in a room, changing the site, changing the sun, changing the view, and actually seeing how that their design really looked.
It's a design tool for them as much as anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, technology is moving on now in a massive way, and I think everything now, I think, is, for us as a business, and certainly we see it with what ACA do, and even on the structural engineering side, which is obviously we haven't really spoke about very much, and we'll maybe get like a Paul in for a chat, to have a sit down chat about more about the structural engineering side of things. But one thing we would say, definitely working with forward thinking practices, is it's about how easy you can communicate the information. I think it's, the big takeaways for this conversation are how easy you make it to digest and understand and access, because I think a lot of people still have this standoff reputation that architects are this still suit wearing corporate identity that is, but very much it's seen as this profession where even to sit down and have a chat or gain access is this kind of closed off, you need $5,000 in your pocket before you even do that. And I think using the resources that you've kind of highlighted today, as well as your website and everything else, you're trying to buck that trend almost and make it more accessible for normal people.
Exactly, and that's what we want: self-build and good architecture to be available for everybody. And you do that by creating content, building trust, and being out there, and not having that standoff old-fashioned. We're just not that. Never have been.
And lastly, if people want to find you, Allan, where do we find you online?
Just all over the online.
All over the
now
online.
On the TikTok
Still on the TikTok.
acrchitects.biz, BIZ, is the main resource. We've got a learning centre in there where all the content's pulled together that makes it easy for people all over across all the socials. And the best place to see me in person is come to a home building and renovating show across the eight weekends a year.
When's the next one for that?
The next one is in London in September.
Yeah, and for people in Scotland, there is one in Edinburgh in October. So they can come and see then. Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Good chat, and we'll no doubt see you on a building site sometime soon. Probably not him, actually. It'll be someone else. Well, actually, we'll see him here next week when he fixes this.
I was going to say, you see Allan on the vlog working tirelessly to try and get that VR sorted.
There's usually a problem if you see a real problem if you see him on a building site. That's true.
You never ever want to see Allan on your building site.
Exactly.
But on that, thank you for coming in, spending your time with us.
Thank you.
And we'll catch up with you next time.
Thanks, Allan.
Cheers.